Today is your 8th June, right? Yeah. 8th June. Yeah, so Thursday will be 8th June. 8th June ko we'll see when can we, yeah, instead of 8th June, we'll have that session on Saturday then. The session essay 240 and 250. We'll discuss it on Saturday or Sunday. I'll take one long session then. Okay? Might be 4 to 5 hours. So let's now come back and let's revise quality review, right? So quality review, first of all, we saw what there were. Let's try to differentiate between quality review and peer review so as to get a good good grab of this chapter quality review. So quality review is being done by quality review board as against peer review board which is performing peer review. So quality review board is performing quality review and peer review board is monitoring or constituting the peer review. And then we saw quality review board is constituted by central government. Peer review board was constituted by ICI council, right? Peer review board, we were having practicing units peer review, right? But here what we were calling it as AFUR, audit firm under review. And quality review is being done by technical reviewer as against peer reviewer in peer review. Technical reviewer, can he have a qualified assistant with him? Can he have a qualified assistant with him? Technical reviewer, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
How
Yes.
many
Team of
qualified
qualified
assistants?
assistant.
How
Six.
many
Five.
maximum?
Five.
Five.
5 qualified assistants,
Maximum
right?
five.
Then peer reviewer, he can only take one qualified assistant with him. Then also we saw NAFRA rule 3 companies where for all these companies, what we saw was for these companies, the auditor will be selected, the AFUR will be selected for quality review only and only in case it is being referred by NAFRA to QRB. It has to be referred by NAFRA to quality review board. And also the major difference was in the aim, the purpose of the review. In the peer review, the aim is for the improvement of the processes in the firm, improvement of the standards, followance, quality control standards, policies and procedures. However, the aim in the quality review is to find out the deficiencies which are chronic in nature, and also then to take disciplinary action against the firm so that this doesn't happen in future. Then the technical review, what we saw was technical reviewer will be assisted by his qualified assistant and he will submit the report to quality review group. Quality review group, after assessing the report, will submit it to quality review board, his recommendations, what actions should be taken, recommendation of actions will be submitted to the quality review board, and then finally the quality review board will pass on his decision to the ICI council and tell them that to give it back or to forward it to the disciplinary committee, that the decision need to be taken or any sort of actions that need to be taken against the AFUR. So disciplinary directorate, not disciplinary committee, disciplinary directorate, DD, will take action against the AFUR. Clear? So quality review scope and objective, what we saw is designed to identify weakness and deficiency. How audits are performed, we are designed, the quality review process is such design that then they will assess how many standards they are not complied with, law and regulation if at all not complied with, quality control standards, policies, procedures, and whether there is any material misstatement in the financial statement, and if yes, whether the same was properly reported or not by the auditor, if the same was properly reported or not by the auditor. So here you can see scope and objective. If they ask for the quality review, what we saw was PET, LR, QCS, MMS, PET, LR, QCS, MMS, PET, professional ethical technical standard compliance, LR, laws and regulation compliance was also to be seen by the quality reviewer or by the technical reviewer, and then the quality control standard, whether policies procedure has been complied with or not, and lastly whether there any material misstatement in the financial statement of the client of the AFUR. Then we saw technical standard, which is more or less same as professional ethical technical standard, which we saw in the peer review chapter. Then presently, what I told you was quality review could be picked up for only and only statutory audit. Quality review can be picked up for only and only statutory audit, not even tax audit, not even internal audit. It can be picked only for statutory audit, and that too only for the companies which are out of Rule 3 of NAFRA Rules 2018. For Rule 3 companies, the firm who is doing the audit of the companies which are mentioned in Rule 3, those firm can only be referred by NAFRA. those firms can only be referred by NAFRA to QRB, and then only the quality review is happening. The quality review board constitution and composition of the board constitution. I told you one would be what? Chairperson, right? One would be chairperson. So what is chairperson? Right. So one is chairperson, and then five more members from the central government and five members from the council, nominated by council. This chairperson is also nominated from the central government. Therefore, out of total 11, we are getting 11 members from the central government. It is constituted by the central government, and chair members are nominated from persons of eminence having experience in various other fields like economics, laws and regulation, or any sort of RBI provision, whatever. Then functions of quality review board. Quality review board function, what we saw, was to perform and to make recommendation to council with respect to quality of services provided by the members. Recommendation, when there ought to have been, the auditor has to qualify the report, but he had issued unqualified report, then we'll give the recommendation to the council to take disciplinary action, and council will take disciplinary action through its director discipline, right? And if we found that there are non-material compliances, then we can directly give guidance to the members of ICI to improve upon the quality of services without any taking any action. We can directly guide upon the members to take any sort of action, to take upon the action to improve their resources, to improve their quality control systems and policies and procedures. Then quality review board will review audit of companies under NAFRA applicability only if referred by NAFRA. For others, it can do suo moto. This has to be mentioned. Rule 9, sub rule 4, very important section, a very important rule to refer to. Then powers of quality review board, May 2022 exam question. Powers. Do you remember how we learned this? Powers of quality review board. I told you an example of the protest that we did against ICI, right? For paper checking. So what we did, what we called from the institute, or call any sort of information from the institute members, client of members, or any other person that they can also call on. And then calling from the institute, we got to know what they have invited experts to frame upon the same, any sort of guidelines, or whether the CA Act should have been amended or not. They have invited the experts, and therefore they have laid down the criteria to evaluate the service provided by members and how they will select the same. Lastly, through the special arrangement with the institute, they have evaluated the papers, and they recommend to the council whether the CA Amendment Act has to be brought or not, CA Act has to be amended or not. That is recommendation made to the council. So these are the powers of quality review board, that they can call any sort of information from anywhere. Information from the institute, council, members, clients of the members, they can call information from any person. Similarly, they can invite experts in case they are not able to get their opinion, get their judgment. Thirdly, they lay the criteria by which the evaluation has to be done, and evaluate the quality of services provided. And lastly, can recommend to the council what all action need to be taken against the AFUR. Any action that needs to be taken against the AFUR, they can make the recommendation to the council. These are all the powers of the quality review board. Then quality review board, I told you what excludes any audit other than statutory audit. So only statutory audit is covered. Other all sort of audit, tax audit, internal audit, all are excluded. Then we saw selection of audit firms. How do we told I told you selection of audit firm can be done based on client specific, or directly AFUR we can select, right? So based on client, we will see whether where there is any fraud that has happened in the client. Is the client is under news reported by the media, or reported by the news agencies? Is there any sort of or is there any sort of sector specific news? So sector specific, we can pick up few clients. We can pick up few clients based on journalism or based on specific news. Similarly, based on fraud that we have detected, so based on that, we will select the company, and then we will see the who is the auditor of this company, and then we will refer the auditor of these companies to the quality review board, and the quality review board will do the quality review for these all auditors, for these all auditors AFUR. So entities other than those specified under rule 3 sub rule 1, other than rule 3 1 wali NAFRA rules 2018 wali companies, other than rule 3 1, here they are saying you can select either on risk based selection or through susceptible to risk. Then you can select those entities if they have reported any fraud or likelihood of fraud has been reported, accounting irregularities you can see, or non-compliance under any of the relevant statutes highlighted. Similarly, for joint audits, all joint auditors may be reviewed, and if you get recommendation from any of the regulatory authorities, then of course you can select that entity for the quality review. If you are receiving any recommendation from the regulatory authority. Will you accept the recommendation received from individual directors, corporates? Will you accept the recommendation received from them? No, right? We can accept the recommendation that we receive only and only from regulatory bodies, and other media reports. Correct? We can receive recommendation and accept those recommendation from, we means here quality review board can accept the recommendation received from regulatory body or other media reports. However, any sort of recommendation that you receive from director, officer, individual, corporate, CA firm, or any other firms, then you won't be entertaining any such request or recommendations. Then we saw also that audit firms, based on criteria, based on audit firms, the large firms, the large affairs, and based on their number of location, number of partner, number of audit assignments that they carry out, we can select the audit firms as well in those cases. Quality review cycle, what we saw was, in case your number of partner is more than 20, right, is more than 20, having 10 or having 20 or more partners, that is more than equal to 20, then once in 3 years. Less than 20 but more than equal to 10, then once in 4 years. And less than 10 partners, then once in every 5 years, right, once in every 5 years. Then up to 3 audit assignments only you can pick up. So one more difference in the quality review versus peer review was, in the quality review you can pick up only 3 audit assignment, maximum 3 audit assignments when you are going to review any of the afur. Maximum 3 audit assignments you can pick up, and that too one audit per partner. That means 3 different partners you will have to pick up, and 3 different partners, 3 different audit has to be there. But the exception to the 3 audits, maximum 3 audits, one there is one exception where in earlier quality review process you found adverse finding. You found adverse finding in the earlier quality review process, and therefore in this quality review you can pick up more than 3 audit assignments as well. Right? Do you remember everyone? Maximum 3 audit assignments only, and that too per audit, per partner 1 audit assignment only you can pick up. But exception is, exception to maximum 3 audit assignment is where you in the last quality review session you found any adverse finding. Correct? Then the quality review process, board can constitute one or more quality review groups. I told you quality review groups will be referred or will be constituted by the quality review board for them to help with the report submitted by the technical reviewer. So technical reviewer will submit the report to QRG, and then the QRG will submit the report to the QRB, right, board. But quality review board will be forming this QRG based on certain criteria. They can form industry specific QRG. That means they are specifically expertise, having specific expertise in health sector, or specific expertise in metal sector, or in other banking sector, insurance sector, financial sector. They can have industry specific QRGs. Similarly, they can have generic QRGs, right? So QRGs will technical reviewers will be preparing report on the review and submitting it to the, based on the expert opinion, submitting it to the QRGs, and then QRGs will be submitting it to the QRBs. Then empanelment of the technical reviewer. For you to do the quality review of any of the AFUR, you need to get yourself empaneled as a technical reviewer in the quality review board. So for you to get yourself empaneled, the reviewer should having minimum 15 years of post qualification experience. 15 years of post qualification experience, and be currently active in practice as well. If not, then you should have also signed at least 3 audit assignments. And here important point here to be noted is that 3 audit assignment of statutory audit of banks, and that too not branch audits. This is what? Central statutory audit. Just remember this. It's not branch audit. It's what? Central statutory audit. I told you the difference yesterday. The central statutory audit is the merging of all the audits of the branches, and then doing the HO audit, head office audit, and compiling all the LFARs of the branches. So central statutory audit of the bank, it is mentioning it's a big audit. Similarly, public limited company audit have you done, or any government company audit, or any private company limited having annual turnover of 50 crore and above during last 10 financial years. So here any of the 4 audits you have done during last 10 financial years, then you have to tell them that I have done at least 3 audit assignments of these 4 companies, and out of these 3 companies, at least one must be other than private limited company. So this criteria, annual turnover of 50 crores and above of the private company, you cannot specify all the 3 companies of this tenure only. So at least one company should be other than the private limited company having annual turnover of 50 crores and above. In short, I can say at least one company should be from this criteria: banks, CSA, public limited company, or government company. Then you should not have been engrossed with any sort of disciplinary proceeding against you in a pending under CA Act 1949, and similarly you should not be a member of quality review board or ICA council or regional council or branch committee. Then we can see empanelment of technical reviewers can be for ongoing period of block period of 3 years, ongoing period of 3 years, and declaration from each technical reviewer for continuing to meet the basic criteria. Then technical reviewer will have to submit the 6th annual declaration with respect to that he's going through all the trainings, he's going through all the updates, and attending all the workshops, all the programs. So he have to give 6 annual declaration also. So up to 3 years he can be appointed or empaneled as a technical reviewer for an ongoing block of 3 years, and 6 annual declaration he will have to give. Then stages involved in the conduct of QR assignments. Yes, everyone. AEI, QO, PRFRS. AEI, QO, PRFRS. What was A? A for
Appointment.
Appointment.
appointment, right? So appointment will be done for the audit firm and the audit firm under review, and as well as the technical review. E for
Engagement letter.
engagement letter. Then you will see I. After everything you have done, you will intimate then now to the afur that yes, afur, now your quality review will be done. So once we have appointed the technical reviewer, we have checked everything, engagement letter to the technical reviewer, everything has been finalized, with that this all responsibility is of you, technical reviewer, everything is finalized, then we'll intimate the same to the afur that yes, your quality review is bound to happen now. Then AEIQO, Q
Questionnaire.
questionnaire to the audit firm under review for filling up. So he also calls for additional any sort of information in the questionnaire from the AFUR, and O for offsite review. So you'll start with the review now. You will try to call him and see what all information he can seek for, you can seek from, or you can have a Zoom meeting attend, and then offsite only you can start reviewing offsite. Then AEIQOPRFRS, P for preliminary report, and you will get the reply representation from the AFUR, right? Preliminary report you will submit to the AFUR and will ask their reply to be submitted back to the technical reviewer. Similarly, F for final report and the representation to be submitted to the quality review board now. So PR you submit to whom? PR you submit to the AFUR only. PR you submit to the AFUR and get the representation back from the AFUR. But final report you submit to the quality review board, and you tell the AFUR also to submit their comments to the quality review board. So to their final comments on the final audit report or the final review report to the quality review board only. So preliminary report is submitted to AFUR, getting them to tell them all the replies and representations that they want to make. Again, get back that. After that, you finalize what your final report and submit it to the QRB, and also tell the AFUR to give the report to the QRB or give their representation to the QRB. And lastly, just remember the last 2 points. The limit is 7 days. That means final representation has to be given in 7 days. And similarly, FRS, S here is for summary. So summary of findings, whatever findings you obtain, this summary should also be filed within next 7 days. So 7 days limit are there in last 2 points. Just remember that. Clear, everyone? Yes or no? Then composition of the review team, what we saw was depends upon the size of the FO, right? So the review team, what I will be taking with me, 5 qualified assistants or 2 qualified assistants, this entire review team will depend upon the size of the FO, how much big is the audit firm, how much number of partner, how many number of partners, how many number of locations does the audit firm have, and mandatorily it has to be headed by the technical reviewer and can include up to 5 qualified assistants. However, no form of chartered accountant I can take with myself for the purpose of assistant. So as a chartered accountant, as a technical reviewer, I can take only those qualified assistants who are there with me, who are there with my firm, with my name, who are also not empaneled as a technical reviewer. Qualified assistants, they cannot be empaneled as a technical reviewer, and also they need to be in my firm for at least 1 year as a partner or employee. They need to be employed in my firm at least 1 year. Then only I can take them with me for qualified assistant, as a qualified assistant, right? Then independence and qualification of technical reviewer, I told you what, no disciplinary action should be proceeding, no disciplinary proceeding should be pending against the technical reviewer for during the last financial year. Similarly, he or his firm or network firm or partner of the firm should not have been conducted any sort of statutory audit or any other service other than statutory audit, also should not have conducted at least 3 years before and also 3 years thereafter, at last 3 financial year and or thereafter. Sorry, not thereafter. Here thereafter doesn't mean last 3 years only. That means what, if you are doing the quality review, then during last 3 financial year you should not have given any sort of statutory audit services, or any other services you should not have rendered to the same client as well as the afford. You should not have rendered to the company, as well as you should not have rendered any sort of association with the afford as well. Similarly, you will have to qualify, or you will have to mention section 141 subsection 3, that the technical reviewer should not be disqualified under section 141 subsection 3. That is, all the conditions shall apply mutatis mutandis here, and should not also belong to the same city, should not also belong to the same region of the head office of the AFUR, same city head office of the AFUR. Then we saw independence, qualified assistance independence, that he should also be a chartered accountant, should not be disqualified under CA Act section 8 and section 21, should also sign confidentiality agreement that the technical reviewer signed, remember. Then also should not have any direct interface with the board or with the AFUR. Similarly, at least 1 year of experience as a member or partner in my CA firm, in my firm as a technical reviewer CA firm. Similarly, not associated with me or with my not associated with the AFUR, or not associated with the client of the AFUR, not associated with the AFUR, and not associated with the concerned entity during last 3 financial years. And lastly, it should not be any there should not be any disciplinary proceeding pending against the chartered accountant, and should not be a member of current quality review board, current ICI central council or regional council or branch level management committee, and should not be a technical reviewer. The qualified assistant should not be a technical reviewer. So mark this point as important. They can ask you who can be a qualified assistant in the form of MCQ also. Should not be a quality reviewer. Should not be a technical reviewer empaneled as a TR with the QRB. Should not be a member of QRB, ICS, Central Council, Regional Council, Branch Level Council. Similarly, no discipline proceeding should be pending against him. Should be not be associated with the AFUR or the concerned entity also. She should not be associated with them during last 3 financial year. Similarly, at least 1 year experience should be with me. 1 year experience important, and should have no direct interface with the board or with the AFUR. Only he can interface with me. That is, all the communication that he wants to make to the AFUR or to the board, he has to go through me. I will be communicating to the AFUR or board. He cannot directly communicate the same, and should sign the declaration of the confidentiality, and also should not attract any sort of disqualification under CA Act. Then we saw guidelines for technical review. There was certain guidelines which we remember as CDEFGOO, right? CDEFGOO. So C for confidentiality, all the declaration, and you have to maintain the confidentiality of the technical review process, entire quality review process. You have to maintain confidentiality. D for documentation, you have to follow documentation procedure as per in accordance with SA 230. Everything has to be documented. E for explanation, that is explanation in respect of any other matter that you seek help or comment from the technical reviewers in their final report. You can then get the explanation. CDE G. So what is there after E? C, D, E, F, right? So F for any sort of fraud reporting that you come across, then you should also see whether adequately the fraud reporting was done or not. Adequacy of the fraud reporting, whether the section 141 subsection 143 subsection 12 was adequately reported according to section 143 subsection 12. And G for then guide. So technical guide also you have to follow, and other sort of any sort of guidance also you have to follow. And lastly, O for on-site visit and O for observation. O for on-site visit and O for observation. On-site visit, observation. On-site visit, observation. On-site visit is for you to go to the AFUR now and accordingly examine all the documents, review all the audit working papers, everything. And observation, you have to segregate your observation into material observation and non-material observation. So I hope it is very much clear. If they ask you for 4 mark guidelines, any sort of guidelines for the technical reviewer, then you will simply say what? Yes, the guidelines is CDEFGOO. Stage wise approach. So stage wise approach, you can constitute one or more QRGs. As I told you, QRB can constitute more than one QRGs, which will assist the QRB, So technical reviewer will preliminary report will be submitted to the AFUR, and his final comments will be asked. Similarly, after the comments has been received from the AFUR, technical reviewer will now finalize his report and submit the final report to the quality review board, and also ask the AFUR to submit their final comments to the quality review board. Clear? And then this all technical reviewer has to submit this in his own letterhead, and should be addressed to the chairperson of the board. Chairperson of the board should be addressed and dated as of the date of review conclusion. So who should be the addressee? Chairperson of the quality review board, and should be under the letterhead of the technical reviewer. Forward the copy of final report to AFUR as well. And then you can also, quality review board can also call for the information. So QRG can call for additional information from the technical reviewer or the audit firm. Similarly, QRG can interact with the technical reviewer or request him to explain, present the final report if at all they are not able to comprehend what was written in final report, or if they want to seek any further clarification what is mentioned in the final report, or there are conflicting opinions. Quality reviewer, that is technical reviewer, is of different opinion, and AFUR is of different opinion. So final report, you are not able to judge clearly whose opinion is correct. So you can again ask for any further information, and where QRG is dissatisfied with the quality of services which is being rendered by the technical reviewer, then also they can seek further clarification. Lastly, reviewer in respect of all joint auditors should be considered together by the QRG, and recommendation shall be made now by the QRG in the following manner. So recommendation, I told you what all recommendation QRG will make. Also I told you one question can be asked by the institute, what recommendation can be made from the QRG to QRB, what all recommendation shall be made by the QRG to QRB. So I told you three recommendation can be made. One was with respect to when the financial statement should have been qualified because financial statement are not free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, but the auditor has gave a clean report, that is unmodified report. And here clearly there is a material non-compliance, sorry, material non-compliance. It is not non-material non-compliance, it is what, material non-compliance. Their opinion has to be changed, opinion, auditor's opinion has to be expressed wrongly, and therefore in that particular case the matter will be recommended to the council of ICI, and the council will further direct the matter to the disciplinary directorate to take the action against the AFUR. However, in the second case the recommendation could be where in the case of non-material non-compliances, non-material non-material non-compliances, for example SA 230 you did not document the same, however there is no such impact on the expression of opinion. Expression of opinion is correct by the audit firm under review, and therefore in that particular case we will simply intimate to the AFUR that these all areas are required by you for you to improve upon. So everything will be communicated to the AFUR directly, no as such disciplinary action will be taken against the AFUR. And lastly, in case of trivial nature of misstatements or trivial nature of manipulation, falsification, then those can be ignored subject to the information that is been provided to the AFUR, that yes these all are the mistakes, but we are now not taking any action or giving you against any action. However, you should in future not incur these mistakes again, right? Then reporting and other procedures, what we saw, what reviewer can qualify the report due to one or more of the following when he is non-complying with the technical standards, that is PET, LR, QCS, and lastly was with respect to PP, policies and procedures, right? Relevant laws and regulation, quality control system, policies and procedure, quality control system, law and regulation, and technical standard has to be followed. If not, that is non-compliance with PET, non-compliance with LR, non-compliance with QCS, non-compliance with PP, then reviewer can qualify the review report. Reviewer can qualify the technical reviewers report. Reviewer can qualify the quality review report. Now basic element of reviewers report I told you will be divided into two parts. One is with respect to the company specific points, that is company specific points, and other one is was with respect to AFUR. I gave you one, this you can read again, not much that important. Lastly come with type of report to be issued. Now the type of report that needs to be issued will depend, or what they are saying is deciding on the type of report, reviewer has to consider these points, following matters has to be considered. So one question can come, probable future question, what considerations, what considerations you need to take before you issue the report, or the type of report that you need to issue, what type of consideration or evidences or documentary conclusions that you need to consider, the for what sort of matters you need to consider. So we will see that whether the policy and procedure has been complied with or not, whether the policy and procedure, apart from that, any sort of quality control standards, policies and procedures, independence of AFUR was maintained or not. Similarly, adequate mechanism for staff training was available or not. Experience, availability, experience, proper skill, proper care with due diligence, the work is being carried out. Progress of the attestation service, where the attestation service has been reached to, till what stage, is there any delay on the part of chartered accountancy firm to perform their attestation service. Then AFUR must have established the procedures to record the audit plan. So similarly we will check whether the audit plan is properly maintained or not, is properly done or not. And lastly, maintain the audit documentation complying with the L&R and maintenance of the reporting quality. So all these matters you will consider the basic points what you also were learning before this, right? Quality review, quality control standard, policy procedure, legal law and regulation, reporting quality as per SA 700, the reporting has been done or not. SA 300 you can refer to audit plan, whether the audit plan was maintained accordingly or not. Similarly, progress of the attestation services, compliance with the assistant, compliance by the qualified assistant, availability of the expertise, and lastly staff training, proper staff training is provided or not. Then the consideration of the report of the quality review group, we saw what, one could be the case where the PSU report on the audit, or report on the audit of the quality review of the public sector undertaking on case to case basis, there the report has to be first furnished to the C&AG, and then the C&AG will submit their views, and then that shall be put up before the QRB. Getting this? So on the case to case basis, PSU, that has to be furnished to the CNDG. CNDG will view and give their views, and that those views will have to be put up before the QRB. Similarly, on other than case to case basis wale PSUs, their quality review group's recommendation as well as the QRB's decision will be submitted to the CNDG. And other than PSU, there is no need to report to the CNDG. You can directly perform our normal procedure, that is placed directly before the QRB. If QRB decide that yes, we have to go against the recommendation that are made to the data that are made by the QRG, that means we are going against those recommendations, then we will also have to tell the reasons for such going against the recommendation by the QRG. And lastly, the actions that may be recommended by the quality review board. So earlier also I told you, either they can recommend the same to the council, and then council will refer the same mistake to the director discipline of the institute. Similarly, they will not go to the council. Instead, they can go, in the case of non-material non-compliance, they can directly issue advisory to the AFUR and tell them that next time onwards this should not happen. And thirdly, they can also inform the details of such non-compliance to the regulatory body also. I told you yesterday, suppose for example listed entity, they can also report to the SEBI. For banking companies, they can also report to the RBI. For insurance companies, they can also report to the IIDI similarly. And all such non-compliance can also be reported to the regulatory body. And then we will also have to intimate to the AFUR as to if there is any findings or any sort of report that needs to be qualified, and reference received from any sort of regulatory body, that we received reference that yes, please do the quality review of this AFUR. Then we will also have to check that in case that review was performed because of the reference from the regulatory body, then we will specifically have to report the regulatory body based on the parameters that they gave us for the quality review. So we will have to report on to the quality review. We will have to report to the regulatory bodies that yes, we have reviewed the audit firm under review according to the parameters that you gave, or according to as per the situation that you wanted. And lastly, consider the matter complete and inform the audit firm. Consider lastly the matter as complete and import the or inform the audit firm. So these are the actions that may be recommended. First two actions are very easy. I told you that you can relate to the recommendation recommended by the QRB, right? So here QRB is recommending, not the QRG. QRG used to report and recommend to the QRB. Here now the QRB may be recommend what may recommendation to the council. A QRB will recommend to the council that this action needs to be taken, or QRB can directly issue advisory to the AFUR. Similarly, any sort of details or non-compliance to the regulatory body also here it has to mention, or if they have received any request from the regulatory body to do the quality review of this AFUR, then they will also report the same to that to that regulatory body. And lastly, consider the matter complete and inform the audit firm. So I hope everyone is now clear with this quality review chapter. Please do revise again, once again revise the chapter, and be sure that yes, definitely an MCQ can come from this chapter as well. So peer review is very much important from peer review and quality review. However, you cannot simply ignore quality review also. The weightage can be from 4 to 5 marks easily. ठीक है? Any doubt?
Sir,